I am the one. Affirmations shift your SP's behavior fast. What if the secret to changing everything in your relationship was not hidden in your specific person's mind, but in your own? What if the text message you've been waiting for, the commitment you've been hoping for, and the love you've been craving were all waiting on one thing: a shift in the way you see yourself? Most people spend countless hours trying to figure out what their SP is thinking. They analyze every message, every social media post, every delay, and every mixed signal. They wonder why their SP is acting distant, why they are not receiving the attention they deserve, or why the relationship is not progressing the way they desire. But there is a deeper truth that few people truly understand. The outer world is simply reflecting the story you are telling yourself within. Today, you are about to discover one of the most powerful identity shifts you can ever make. The shift from hoping you are enough to knowing you are the one. Not one of many options. Not someone who must compete for love. Not someone who waits to be chosen. You are the one who is naturally adored, naturally valued, naturally prioritized, and naturally loved. The moment you begin affirming, I am the one, something extraordinary starts to happen. Your energy changes. Your expectations change. Your assumptions change. You stop operating from fear and begin operating from certainty. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop questioning your worth and start embodying it. And as your inner world transforms, the people around you, especially your SP, begin responding to that new version of you. This is not about manipulation. It is not about forcing another person to do something against their will. It is about understanding a timeless principle. People can only reflect the beliefs you consistently hold about yourself. When you see yourself as unforgettable, they begin treating you as unforgettable. When you see yourself as chosen, they begin choosing you. When you know you are the prize, the world begins to mirror that conviction back to you. So as you listen to this message, let go of the old story. Release the doubts, the fears, the waiting, and the wondering. For the next few moments, allow yourself to step into a new identity. The identity of the person who no longer asks, will they choose me? Because they already know the answer. You are the one. You have always been the one. And when you fully accept that truth, your reality has no choice but to reflect it. Become the version of you that feels chosen. The greatest mistake people make when it comes to love and relationships is believing that someone else holds the power to determine their worth. They wait for a text message to feel important. They wait for attention to feel attractive. They wait for commitment to feel secure. In doing so, they unknowingly place their happiness, confidence, and identity into another person's hands. But the truth is that lasting transformation begins the moment you stop seeking evidence that you are chosen and start becoming the version of yourself that already feels chosen. This is the foundation of the powerful affirmation. I am the one. It is not merely a collection of words. It is an identity. It is a decision. It is a state of consciousness that changes the way you think, feel, react, and ultimately experience your relationships. When you truly feel chosen, you no longer wake up wondering whether your SP is thinking about you. You no longer spend your day analyzing every interaction or searching for hidden meanings behind their actions. Instead, you move through life with an inner certainty that you are valuable, desirable, and worthy of love. This certainty does not come from external proof. It comes from within. Most people have it backwards. They believe they need the relationship first in order to feel secure. However, the reality is that security must come first. The feeling of being chosen must exist within you before it can consistently appear in your external experience. Think about how a person behaves when they feel truly loved and appreciated. They are relaxed, they are confident. They are not constantly seeking reassurance. They trust in their value. Their energy is attractive because it is free from desperation and fear. Now compare that to someone who constantly doubts themselves. They overthink every conversation. They worry about being replaced. They seek validation at every turn. Their emotional state is dictated by circumstances. The difference between these two individuals is not luck, appearance, or even relationship status. The difference is self-concept. One person feels chosen, The other person is waiting to be chosen. The affirmation, I am the one, invites you to step into the first state. It asks you to stop identifying as the person who is hoping, wishing, and waiting. Instead, it encourages you to become the version of yourself who naturally expects love, affection, commitment, and respect. This shift may seem simple, but it is profound. Every assumption you hold about yourself influences the way you interpret reality. If you assume you are easily forgotten, you will notice every sign that appears to confirm that belief. If you assume you are deeply valued, you will begin noticing evidence of that instead. Your focus determines your experience. The subconscious mind responds to repetition and conviction. When you repeatedly affirm, I am the one they adore, I am the one they prioritize, I am the one they cannot stop thinking about, you are planting new assumptions within your consciousness. At first, these affirmations may feel unfamiliar, especially if they contradict old beliefs. That is perfectly normal. Every transformation begins with a period of adjustment. The key is persistence. Continue returning to the new story regardless of current appearances. Continue embodying the feeling of being chosen even when circumstances seem unchanged. The outer world often takes time to catch up with the inner shift. One of the most powerful practices is to imagine yourself already being treated the way you desire. See your SP texting you enthusiastically. Hear them expressing affection and appreciation. Feel the relief, joy, and certainty that would naturally accompany such experiences. But do not imagine these scenes from a place of longing. Imagine them from a place of ownership. Feel as though this is simply normal for you because you are the person who is always chosen. The emotional tone matters. You are not trying to get something, you are becoming someone. As you continue this practice, you may notice subtle changes within yourself. You may become less reactive. You may feel more peaceful. You may stop checking your phone every few minutes. You may begin focusing more on your own happiness and growth. These are signs your identity is shifting. Ironically, it is often during this stage that relationships begin to improve. Why? Because people respond to the energy you embody. When you no longer radiate neediness, you naturally become more magnetic. When you stop chasing validation, you become more attractive. When you know your worth, others begin recognizing it too. The affirmation, I am the one, is ultimately a declaration of self-worth. It is a refusal to see yourself as second best, overlooked, or unwanted. It is the conscious choice to view yourself as valuable, lovable, and irreplaceable. The moment you adopt this identity, everything starts to change. Your thoughts change, your emotions change, your expectations change, and as your inner world transforms, your outer world begins reflecting that transformation. Remember, you are not becoming worthy of love. You are recognizing that you have always been worthy. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are choosing yourself first. And when you truly feel chosen within, the world has a remarkable way of mirroring that belief back to you. Your SP reflects your dominant assumptions. One of the most life-changing realizations you can have in the journey of love and manifestation is understanding that people often reflect the assumptions you consistently hold about them and about yourself. Most individuals believe that their SP is acting independently of their inner world. They assume that if their SP is distant, uninterested, inconsistent, or unavailable, then there is nothing they can do except wait and hope for things to change. But there is a deeper principle at work. The assumptions that dominate your consciousness create the lens through which you experience reality. What you repeatedly expect, emotionally accept, and mentally rehearse begins to shape the experiences that appear in your life. This is why the affirmation, I am the one, is so powerful. It changes the assumptions operating beneath the surface and allows you to experience a completely different version of your SP. Think about the beliefs many people unknowingly carry into relationships. They may believe that love is difficult to maintain. They may assume that people always leave. They may expect rejection, disappointment, inconsistency, or heartbreak. These assumptions often develop through past experiences, childhood conditioning, or previous relationships. Over time, they become so familiar that they feel like facts rather than beliefs. Yet, these hidden assumptions influence every interaction. They affect body language, emotional reactions, expectations, and interpretations of events. A delayed text message becomes proof of rejection. A short reply becomes evidence of lost interest. Every circumstance is filtered through the existing story. Now imagine replacing those assumptions with a completely different narrative. Instead of believing that your SP is distant, you begin assuming they are deeply attracted to you. Instead of expecting inconsistency, you expect devotion. Instead of fearing abandonment, you assume commitment. Instead of wondering whether you matter, you affirm that you are unforgettable. These new assumptions gradually become the dominant story in your consciousness. As they do, your perception changes. You begin noticing different evidence. You respond differently. Most importantly, you stop feeding energy into the version of reality you no longer wish to experience. The human mind is incredibly powerful because it tends to seek confirmation for what it already believes. If you believe you are not a priority, your attention naturally focuses on situations that support that belief. But if you genuinely believe that you are cherished and valued, your awareness begins searching for evidence that confirms this new identity. This shift in focus creates an entirely different emotional experience. You become calmer, you become more confident, you become less reactive, and because your behavior changes, your interactions with others often change as well. When practicing the affirmation, I am the one, it is important to understand that you are not trying to force your SP to become someone else. You are changing the assumptions through which you experience them. Every time you affirm, I am the one they always choose, I am the one they think about constantly, or I am the one they love deeply, you are reinforcing a new inner reality. The subconscious mind accepts what is repeatedly impressed upon it. Over time, these affirmations stop feeling like wishes and start feeling like truth. Once they feel natural, they begin influencing your emotional state and your expectations. One of the biggest challenges people face is allowing current circumstances to dictate their assumptions. They look at what is happening right now and use it as proof that their desired outcome is impossible. But circumstances are often the result of previous beliefs and assumptions. If you constantly react to what is happening, you remain trapped in the old story. True transformation occurs when you decide that your inner conviction is more powerful than temporary appearances. You continue affirming your desired reality even when external evidence has not yet caught up. You choose faith over fear. You choose certainty over doubt. Imagine how different your life would feel if you genuinely believed that your SP adored you. How would you think? How would you speak? How would you carry yourself? Would you spend hours worrying about every little detail? Probably not. You would likely feel secure, relaxed, and confident. You would trust in the connection. This is the state you are cultivating. The goal is not merely to repeat affirmations mechanically. The goal is to embody the feeling that those affirmations describe. When your inner state changes, your outer experience begins aligning with that new state. The affirmation, I am the one, is ultimately about taking responsibility for the story you are telling yourself. It is about recognizing that your assumptions matter. They influence your emotions, your behavior, your expectations, and the experiences you attract. Rather than focusing on what your SP is currently doing, focus on the version of the relationship you wish to experience. Continue affirming that you are loved, valued, respected, and prioritized. Continue seeing yourself as the person who is naturally chosen. As these assumptions become dominant within your consciousness, you will notice a profound shift, not only in the way you see your SP, but in the way your SP appears to respond to you. The reflection changes because the source has changed, and the source is always the story you consistently tell yourself about who you are. Affirmations reprogram your inner story. Every person lives according to a story. It is not necessarily a story written on paper, nor is it one that is spoken aloud every day, but it exists within the mind as a collection of beliefs, assumptions, memories, and expectations. This inner story silently influences how you see yourself, how you view others, and what you expect from life. When it comes to relationships and your SP, the story you tell yourself becomes especially important because it shapes the emotional atmosphere from which all your interactions emerge. If your inner story is filled with fear, doubt, rejection, and insecurity, then those emotions will color your perception of every situation. However, if your inner story is filled with confidence, love, certainty, and worthiness, you begin experiencing reality from an entirely different perspective. This is where affirmations become one of the most powerful tools for transformation. They are not simply positive statements. They are instruments for rewriting policy that your subconscious mind accepts as true. Most people do not realize how often they affirm negative things. They may never say them out loud, but they repeat them mentally every day. Thoughts such as "I am never chosen," "relationships never work out for me," "my SP is losing interest," or "I am not enough" become unconscious affirmations. Because these thoughts are repeated so frequently, the subconscious mind begins accepting them as facts. Once accepted, they influence behavior, emotions, and expectations. The individual then encounters circumstances that appear to confirm those beliefs, strengthening the cycle even further. This is why many people feel stuck. They are unknowingly replaying the same inner story and therefore experiencing the same patterns again and again. The affirmation, "I am the one," interrupts this cycle. It introduces a completely new narrative into the mind. Instead of identifying as someone who is overlooked, you begin identifying as someone who is cherished. Instead of seeing yourself as an option, you begin seeing yourself as the priority. Instead of believing that love is uncertain, you begin assuming that love naturally flows to you. Every time you affirm, "I am the one they adore," "I am the one they always choose," or "I am the one who receives consistent love and attention," you are planting new seeds within your consciousness. These seeds may not appear to produce immediate results, but with repetition and persistence, they begin taking root. The subconscious mind learns through repetition. It does not carefully analyze every statement to determine whether it is true or false. Instead, it responds to what is consistently impressed upon it. This is why affirmations work best when they are repeated regularly and accompanied by emotion. Emotion gives energy to the words. When you affirm from a state of conviction, gratitude, or certainty, the message penetrates more deeply into the subconscious. Over time, what once felt unrealistic begins to feel familiar. What once felt impossible begins to feel natural. The new story gradually replaces the old one. One of the reasons affirmations are so effective is that they influence your self-concept. Your self-concept is the collection of beliefs you hold about yourself. It determines what you think you deserve, what you expect from others, and how you respond to challenges. If your self-concept tells you that you are worthy of love, you naturally expect to be treated with respect and affection. If your self-concept tells you that you are unworthy, you may tolerate situations that do not align with your desires. The affirmation, "I am the one," strengthens a self-concept rooted in value, confidence, and certainty. It reminds you that you are not competing for love. You are embodying it. As you continue affirming, you may notice resistance from your mind. Old thoughts may arise and attempt to contradict your new story. Memories of past disappointments may surface. Doubts may whisper that nothing is changing. This is a normal part of the process. The old story, though, does not disappear overnight. It was likely repeated for months or even years, so it may take time for the new story to become dominant. The key is persistence. Do not argue with the negative thoughts. Do not fight them. Simply return to your chosen affirmation. Each time you redirect your focus, you weaken the old narrative and strengthen the new one. Imagine reading the same chapter of a book every day for years. Eventually, you would know every sentence by heart. Now imagine deciding to write a completely new chapter. At first, the old chapter would still feel familiar, but the more you read the new one, the more familiar it becomes. Eventually, the new chapter feels natural, while the old one loses its influence. This is exactly what affirmations do. They help you rewrite the script that has been playing in your mind. The affirmation, "I am the one," is more than a statement about your SP. It is a declaration about your identity. It is the conscious choice to see yourself as worthy, desired, and significant. It is the decision to stop rehearsing stories of rejection and begin rehearsing stories of love. Every repetition moves you further away from the version of yourself who doubts and closer to the version of yourself who knows. As your inner story changes, your emotional state changes. As your emotional state changes, your expectations change. And as your expectations change, your experiences begin to transform. The outer world can only reflect the story that dominates within. Therefore, choose your story carefully, repeat it faithfully, and allow the affirmation, I am the one, to become the foundation of a stop, watching their behavior, and start directing it mentally. One of the biggest reasons people struggle to see movement in their relationships is because they become completely focused on observing what their SP is doing in the present moment. They constantly check for signs, analyze every message, monitor social media activity, and look for evidence that something is changing. Their attention becomes trapped in the external world. Every action their SP takes determines whether they feel hopeful or discouraged. If they receive a text, they feel excited. If they do not, they feel anxious. If their SP shows affection, they feel confident. If their SP appears distant, they feel defeated. This emotional dependence on external circumstances creates a cycle where the individual is always reacting rather than creating. The affirmation, I am the one, invites you to break this cycle and reclaim your power by shifting your focus from observing behavior to mentally directing the version of reality you wish to experience. Most people do not realize how much energy they give to unwanted circumstances. Every time about their SP being distant, they mentally rehearse distance. Every time they worry that their SP is losing interest, they strengthen the idea of losing interest within their consciousness. Every time they tell themselves that communication is inconsistent, they continue feeding life into that assumption. The mind cannot distinguish between what you are observing and what you are creating. Whatever receives your attention receives your energy. This is why constantly focusing on what you dislike often causes it to feel even more dominant in your experience. The moment you understand this principle, everything changes. Instead of asking, why are they acting this way? You begin asking, what version of them am I consistently entertaining in my mind? This question shifts you from being a passive observer to becoming an intentional creator. Rather than allowing current circumstances to dictate your thoughts, you begin consciously choosing the thoughts that align with your desired outcome. You stop mentally replaying scenes of disappointment and begin mentally rehearsing scenes of love, commitment, and affection. Mental direction begins with imagination. Your imagination is one of the most powerful creative tools you possess because it allows you to experience a desired reality internally before it appears externally. When you close your eyes and imagine your SP expressing love, prioritizing you, reaching out to you, or committing to you, you are planting a new pattern within your consciousness. The purpose is not to force anything. The purpose is to familiarize your mind with the version of reality you want to experience. The subconscious mind responds to what feels natural. Therefore, the more often you mentally experience your desired relationship, the more natural it begins to feel. This is where the affirmation, I am the one, becomes especially powerful. Every time you repeat these words, you reinforce a specific identity. You remind yourself that you are not someone who must chase attention. You are not someone who needs to beg for love. You are not someone who fears being forgotten. You are the one who is naturally remembered, naturally valued, naturally pursued, and naturally loved. From this identity, your mental conversations begin changing. Instead of imagining your SP rejecting you, you imagine them appreciating you. Instead of hearing criticism, you hear admiration. Instead of expecting distance, you expect closeness. Many people underestimate the influence of inner conversations. Throughout the day, you are constantly talking to yourself. You imagine future conversations, replay past interactions, and create scenarios in your mind. These inner dialogues often all become habitual. If you frequently imagine arguments, rejection, or disappointment, you are conditioning yourself to expect those outcomes. But when you deliberately create loving, positive, and supportive inner conversations, you begin conditioning yourself to expect a different experience. Imagine hearing your SP say, I love being with you. You are so important to me. Or I can't stop thinking about you. Allow these conversations to feel real. Let them become familiar. The challenge for many people is maintaining this practice when external circumstances appear unchanged. The temptation is to look for immediate proof, yet true transformation requires persistence. A gardener does not dig up a seed every day to see whether it is growing. They trust the process and continue nurturing it. In the same way, your mental direction requires faith. Continue imagining the desired version of your relationship, even when the outer world has not yet reflected it. Continue affirming your worth even when doubts arise. Continue choosing the new story until it becomes stronger than the old one. As you become more consistent with this practice, you may notice an important shift. You become less reactive to circumstances. You stop feeling controlled by every text message or lack thereof. You develop a sense of inner stability. This stability is powerful because it allows you to remain aligned with your desired reality regardless of temporary appearances. Instead of asking what your SP is doing, you focus on who you are being. You focus on the version of yourself who knows they are loved and chosen. The affirmation, I am the one, is ultimately an invitation to move from reaction to creation. It reminds you that your greatest influence is not found in monitoring someone else's behavior, but in directing your own consciousness. The more you focus on the version of your SP you wish to experience, the less power unwanted circumstances have over you. Your imagination becomes stronger than your fears. Your assumptions become stronger than your doubts, and your inner certainty becomes stronger than temporary appearances. When you stop watching every move they make and start directing your attention toward the reality you desire, you begin stepping into the role of the creator rather than the observer. And from that position, profound change becomes possible. Confidence creates magnetic attraction. There is a quality that attracts people more powerfully than appearance, status, money, or even perfect words. It is confidence, not the loud confidence that seeks attention or validation, but the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth. This type of confidence is deeply magnetic because it communicates certainty. It tells the world, without saying a word, that you value yourself, trust yourself, and expect good things to happen. When it comes to relationships and your SP, confidence plays an extraordinary role because people naturally respond to the energy you embody. The affirmation, I am the one, is not simply a statement about being chosen by someone else. It is a declaration of confidence. It is the decision to see yourself as valuable, desirable, and worthy, regardless of current circumstances. And when this confidence becomes genuine, it creates a magnetic attraction that can transform the way others respond to you. Many people approach relationships from a place of lack. They believe they need another person to complete them, validate them, or make them feel worthy. Because of this, they often become emotionally dependent on the behavior of their SP. If they receive attention, they feel good. If they do not, they feel anxious. Their emotional state rises and falls based on external events. This creates an unstable foundation because their sense of value is tied to something outside of themselves. The affirmation, I am the one, encourages a completely different approach. Instead of seeking worthiness from another person, you begin generating it from within. You stop asking whether you are enough and start recognizing that you already are. Confidence is attractive because it removes desperation. When someone knows their value, they do not chase approval. They do not constantly seek reassurance. They do not need to convince others of their worth because they have already convinced themselves. This inner certainty changes the way they think, speak, and behave. They become more relaxed. They become more authentic. They stop overanalyzing every interaction. They stop fearing rejection because their sense of self is no longer dependent on another person's opinion. This emotional freedom creates a powerful presence that people can feel. Think about the energy of someone who truly believes they are the prize. They walk into a room without needing to prove anything. They do not compare themselves to everyone around them. They do not obsess over whether they are good enough. Instead, they carry themselves with quiet assurance. They know their value, And because they know it, others often begin recognizing it as well. Compare this to someone who constantly doubts themselves. That person may seek constant validation, overthink every situation, and become consumed by fear of losing what they desire. The difference is not external, it is internal. It is the difference between confidence and insecurity. The affirmation, I am the one, helps cultivate this confidence by repeatedly reminding you of your worth. Every time you affirm, I am the one they desire, I am the one they choose, or I am the one who receives love effortlessly, you are reinforcing a new identity. You are teaching your subconscious mind to see you as someone who is naturally worthy of affection, commitment, and appreciation. Over time, these affirmations begin changing the way you feel about yourself. The confidence that emerges is not forced. It develops naturally as your self-concept improves. One of the most important aspects of confidence is trust. Confident people trust themselves. They trust their value. They trust that they are worthy of good experiences. In manifestation, trust is essential because it allows you to release the need for constant proof. Instead of wondering whether your affirmations are working, you continue affirming. Instead of questioning every circumstance, you remain focused on your desired reality. Confidence allows you to stay faithful to your vision even when the outer world has not yet caught up. It helps you remain emotionally stable while your new assumptions take root. As this confidence grows, you may notice significant changes in your behavior. You may become less concerned with what your SP is doing at every moment. You may stop checking your phone repeatedly. You may feel more comfortable focusing on your own goals, passions, and happiness. Interestingly, this is often when people become more attractive. Why? Because they are no longer radiating neediness. They are no longer sending the message that their happiness depends on someone else's actions. Instead, they radiate self-respect, self-assurance, and emotional independence. Confidence also changes what you are willing to accept. When you know your worth, you naturally expect to be treated with respect and consideration. You no longer settle for less than what aligns with your desired relationship. This does not come from arrogance. It comes from self-awareness. You understand that your value is inherent, not something that must be earned. As a result, you begin showing up differently in every area of your life. The affirmation, I am the one, ultimately leads you to a profound realization. The love you seek begins with the way you see yourself. The more you appreciate your own value, the more naturally others reflect that value back to you. Confidence becomes your magnet, not because it forces anyone to behave a certain way, but because it transforms the energy you bring into every interaction. When you truly believe you are worthy, loved, and chosen, you stop chasing what you desire and start embodying it. And when you embody it consistently, the world often responds in remarkable ways. Remember, magnetic attraction is not created by trying harder. It is created by becoming the version of yourself who already knows they are enough. That is the power of confidence. That is the power of self-concept. And that is the true meaning of the affirmation, I am the one.